So y'all be thinking in yourselves how you gonna do that. All right, so I wanted to do a quick, what I call triple L's motivation, because y'all know outside of FedEx, I'm a motivational speaker. So this is my way of motivating at work. So I have my t-shirt on, which is one of my t-shirt lines, and it's called, what does it say?
Be the one.
Be the one. So I want to quickly tell you guys what that means and why I came up with this t-shirt. So years and years ago, when I first joined FedEx, I was in a bad state. I had just graduated from college in 2000, and I literally had 2 weeks from the graduation date and started working at FedEx in June of 2000. So I was 21, young, inexperienced, met Terry, and she was my FedEx BDW mentor for the first couple of years that I was here. And so I immediately got married, immediately started having children. I was pregnant 3 years in a row. Sick, had to end up working from home for about 4 months because I couldn't keep anything down in my stomach. And so throughout the course of those years, I ended up being in a bad relationship. My marriage was horrible. I would come to work some days struggling to even leave my house because my husband was being abusive. And so back then, Rajiv was my manager, and it was some days I had to call him and say, hey, I'm headed to the hospital because I had bruises on my neck and a bruise on my jaw where I had been almost choked to death. And it was days where I couldn't eat for 3 days because that's how bad I was being abused. And so additionally to that, I had 2 small sons, so my sons are like 11 and a half months apart, so I was pregnant for 2 years straight. Literally got pregnant on maternity leave, came back to FedEx after my maternity leave and had to tell my manager at that time, hey, I'm pregnant again. We got to do this again. How did that happen? I don't know. And so during this time, I was going through so much in my personal life till I really couldn't focus on my work. So fast forward, ended up going through that divorce. I went back to school in 2005, got my master's degree. It took me 2.5 years to get my master's degree from Christian Brothers while still working here. And so going through that horrible divorce, my son's dad getting to a point where he didn't want to have anything to do with them after the divorce. And so my oldest son decided at the age of 10, he wanted to try to kill himself. So it was literally, so I was dealing with a divorce, separation, grad school, and my youngest son, or my oldest son, who was 10 at the time, trying to kill himself and still trying to come to work. As needless to say, I was a miserable person. So after that ended, pretty much, I became level-headed. Some of the people on the team kind of knew what I was going through. Fred was one of them. It was days when I would come to work, literally just last year, because I'm going through another divorce as I speak. Came to work, I think we were doing, Lori, what was it, the Agile training. I had my house up for sale. If you guys remember the first PI plan event that we had, I was running in and out, trying to put my house up for sale because I found out that my current husband had been unfaithful, same as my first. So I was a wreck. And so you guys wonder why I come to work and I'm so excited and I'm always trying to be happy and inspiring and laughing and joking. It's because at home I was living through hell, or I was going through hell. And so my t-shirt line says, be the one, because back in the day, I wanted somebody during the times where I was going through the pregnancies, going through the physical abuse at home, emotional abuse, financial abuse. I ended up losing my house. I had literally had the Shelby County Sheriff Department to call me here at FedEx and say, we're coming to pick up your Mercedes. And I said, no, I'll leave and I'll meet you somewhere. So I was dealing with all this stuff still while working. And I'm saying all that to say is that a lot of times you guys are dealing with a lot of personal issues that bleed over into your work life. Not all of us come to work and feel like, hey, everything at home is Gucci and it's fine and it's okay. And so I remember even being in high school when my mom, she worked on a job 17 years at Sharp Manufacturing, where they made the first microwaves and the first TVs. And she worked on an assembly line. She had like maybe 15-minute breaks a day. And the 12th grade year of my high school, my mother had a nervous breakdown on her job at the age of 42, to the point that she has not worked on a job since she was 42. She's 66 now, because that job was stressing her out so bad. She was raising 4 kids. Of course, my dad was another story. And so I wish somebody had taken the time out on her job to be the one for her. And so basically what be the one means is that when you see a team member or you hear a team member that may be going through something, I mean, it may not even be your job. Maybe you're not the product owner. Maybe you're not the scrum master. But you may see something that needs to be done, and you could very well be the one to get it done. Or simply just asking, hey, how are you today? How are you feeling? Is everything okay? Not to say that you're going to tell all your business like I just did, because I don't care. It's my life. I'm over it. I'm living my best life now. Yeah. say that you have to tell everything that you're going through, but a simple, you should know whether or not your coworker has children, or if they have small children, or if they were sick last night. I check up on Ernesto a lot because I know that he's dealing with a sick mother at home that he's pretty much the only person to care for. And so when I hear things like he has never taken a real vacation since he's been at FedEx, that bothers me. And so even, Lori at the last PI Plan event, or we was in a class or training or something, y'all, I was so distraught, like literally in tears on the first row. And some of you guys were sitting behind me, and Lori sat there and prayed for me at that meeting and said, Lori, go home. Because I couldn't function. Like I was just dealing with so much stuff in my personal life until I couldn't get a hold of it at work. It would be times when I'm here and I'm going to the bathroom because I don't know when I'm going to cry. And so all this stuff was just bleeding over. And so I'm saying that 19 years being here at FedEx, and I just wanted somebody to be the one to listen in. And so now, because I talked to a lot of you guys, Adam can tell the story. When he first came here to EDW, I was so horrible to him. And I was so mean to him. And our manager back then said, Adam, go to Lori, she's gonna train you. And I said, no, I'm not. I don't wanna see another man in my life. I'm not gonna teach him nothing. He can get it by himself. Like I had this black girl attitude, like for real. And I was so mean to Adam, and I had to turn around and come back a couple years later and apologize. But it was because I was dealing with so much in my personal life. I didn't want a man asking me anything else because that's the same thing that my ex-husband had done. I didn't want a man depending on me because that was the same thing that my ex-husband had done. And so I'm just saying that it's not always about work. Like I shared with some of our team members, FedEx work is gonna always be here. But if you're not good enough to leave home with a smile on your face and be there for your family, because one thing that my mom missed out on, she missed out on 17 years of my life. Even though she was there, she wasn't there emotionally, she wasn't there mentally, because her job and raising 4 children and having a husband and my grandfather living with us for 5 years until he passed, it was stressing her out. And so it was times when she never came to my spelling bee competitions. I was a straight A student. She never really paid attention to my report cards. And so it bothered me that she was going through so much that nobody was paying attention to her on her job or even at home because they just didn't know. And my mother ended up having a nervous breakdown and having anxiety attacks and many strokes because that's just how stressed out she was. So my challenge to you today is to think about your teammates. It may not be related to work. Check up on each other. You should be close to at least one person in this department where you feel like you can go to them and share. Sonia was my go-to, Lori has been my go-to, Fred has been my go-to. And so find you somebody that you can connect with so that you can be the one for them. And it may not be your job that you're getting paid for, but if you just continue to be the one for somebody else, I promise you to make their life a different place and make them feel better about coming to work and actually being here. Because I used to come to FedEx to get away from the problems. And so that was just my spiel. So this is Triple L's motivation. I hope that today you be the one for somebody moving forward in this PI and going forward. Don't just think about yourself, think about somebody else, because your smile, you asking them if they're really okay, just may change the course of their day. All right?